if you stop to consider it too long, is that you said you talked earlier about having to paint intuitively. If you sort of do you lose that?
Yeah, because I think for me, the work that I feel is my better work is where I have switched my brain off, and you allow the painting to make itself from the inside out, if you know what I mean, from the canvas outwards, rather than coming into the studio with an idea of what you're putting into the canvas. The painting makes itself from the middle to the edges rather than the other way around. And I think for me, and it's not, I know I'm not judging the way anyone else works, for me, that's the work that I make that I feel the most excited about and that I feel is the most honest, the stuff that just comes out. But there's varying degrees of, intuition and logical thought and decision making in making a painting. For me, it's kind of up and down a bit. Some areas of it are very intuitive and it's stuff that I just do without any thought or any thought that I can understand. But then there's other bits where the process slows down and you think about what to do next, or you draw, or I draw things, but I draw little sketches as I'm making a painting, not before I start. But those sketches are almost like automatic drawing. But are they? I don't think any of us really know how much we're thinking sometimes, because you are sort of channeling this stuff in the studio, and maybe you think it's intuitive and maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a different level of thinking. It's got to come from somewhere. I'm not just kind of dragging my knuckles around the studio, picking up stuff and chucking it at the canvas, and, grunting. There's more going on than maybe you think there is sometimes. But it's also very easy to post-rationalize and over-analyze things once you've done it and project meaning onto things that maybe that's not even that important or significant in terms of experiencing the painting when it's finished.
So what's the role of the sketch pad?
Well, I mean,
if so much of it comes out intuitively at the time.
Well, for me, when I'm making a painting, I don't use a sketch pad. I use scraps of bits of paper that are on the floor, or the back of like a box or something. I wouldn't use a sketch pad in the studio. That's sort of something separate that I do where I'm doing something else, where those are like thoughts or ideas. Anyway,
can you reveal what that's for?
You know what? I've always wanted a projector, and I've never wanted to part with the money for it. But then I did quite a big job a couple of weeks ago, and I got the money to buy a projector. So I'm hoping to take it to the studio. And I think, whereas I do tend to do stuff like in the most complicated way possible. So, I don't often like draw stuff out digitally and then put it onto a canvas. I generally, it just comes out of my head or from little sketches that I do like by hand. But I have realized that maybe if I did embrace technology in a bit more of a meaningful way, it might make life a bit less of a head fuck. And so I'm hoping to maybe start planning out some stuff at home that I can then take to the studio, and it'll make me more productive is my however, how successful it's going to be, because generally I don't read instructions for how to make things work, and then I get irritated when things don't work. So let's wait and see. I'll probably, I'll end up crying, but I'm still quite excited that I've got it. So that's what it is. But there's a long-winded answer to say it. I'm going to try using it in the studio to maybe do some drawing and like project it onto canvas, so I don't have to do it all with bits of tracing paper that I masking tape together, which is like something a complete idiot would do. But it's also how I do things.
You talked before about this different kind of way of viewing your work, which is kind of in real life and on Insta, and one is completely flat and one reveals layers and everything that you so you're talking about embracing tech. How could you use tech to actually allow people that are looking through a digital screen to see the depth and the layers? Is that something you think about?
It's something I think about, but I quite like that paintings have these two lives, that you think it's something that it isn't when you see it on the screen. Because in a way that speaks so much about our experience of living a life through a screen. We don't get the truth, we don't get the feeling, we just get stuff like the headline, you know. You get the image, but you don't get the surface of the painting. And I think that's okay, actually. I think that's quite exciting, that you think you know what you're looking at, but actually you're not. And that's what painting does anyway. Painting is full of illusion and making you see things that aren't really there, things that look three-dimensional or look like they're in front of something else, but they're not. It's all on the same flat plane. So I quite like that. Having said that, on things like Instagram, I think I get a lot of interest when people start to understand a bit more about what the paintings actually look like in reality. And I'm trying to be a bit more aware of showing people those little insights as well. So, you know, like filming like the close-up of an area of a painting, so they can understand that it is a painting and not something that is generated digitally, because I mean, it's not, and that's not the way my head works at all. You know, I generally feel my way through paintings, and for me, painting is quite a messy process, although what I make ends up looking quite precise and quite graphic. It's not, you know, it's born from chaos, and I'm quite clumsy. You know, I drop things and tread on paint and like fall into the canvas, and there's like big, you know, and I smudge things, and I end up having to undo quite a lot of damage that I've done during the process. I'm not a particularly controlled, clean, precise person.
So that's really interesting though, because you know, you talk about the kind of the mess and the creative process and not being a clean person, but you've also said you do create quite precise pieces on the whole. Is there something in there that says when I work, I need to take the clutter in my mind, I need to create the mess and the sort of maybe a compulsiveness in my process and create some kind of, or is there a control thing around that comes out?
I mean, I always think that like my process is like controlling chaos, because it starts from nothing. It just starts from the mess. And as I say, this notion of like working from the inside of the canvas out, you know, I do stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what I'm going to do to it next quite often, until I've maybe taken some time out and done some little drawings or started work on something else, and then the thing over here will like make itself clear. So for me, yeah, that kind of organizing principles around my work seems to be how I do things. Things start messy and kind of unformed, and then maybe my job or my role or my process is me trying to make some kind of sense of it, not intellectual sense, but visual sense, to make it like balanced or composed, or there's harmony within it, or there's challenge within it. It's like building a narrative out of like nothing. So I think that describes what I do quite well. That kind of compulsion was the word you used, and I think that's quite a good word, because it feels like that's what drives me to carry on making a painting. The compulsion to make it resolved is something to do with organizing chaos.
So would it be completely sort of anathema to you to be able to go in and one day just say, I'm just throwing paint at the canvas, I'm just gonna do something primal, and or have you, but we've just not seen it?
No, I do. I mean, there's stages at the beginning of a painting, certainly the paintings I've been making for the last year and a half, where that's a really important part of the process. The first thing I do is always put colour on the canvas, because the worst thing to have in the studio is just a white canvas. Like, what do you do with that? Like, it's terrifying. That's the scary bit. And as soon as you put colour on it, for me, then I get the sense of what I might do next. So I generally think in terms of colour temperature to begin with. Is this going to be hot? Is this going to be cold? And then when I've got a colour on it, which I don't overthink actually, I just, you know, is it hot or cold? And then I'll choose something within, you know, that spectrum of colour. But certainly the paintings I'm doing at the moment, I'm then not thinking in terms of a resolved image. I'm letting the marks that I make by throwing or swiping or smearing paint on the canvas give me a space to like respond to. So it's a responsive process, but it only comes from me making shapes that kind of form themselves by me maybe standing on one edge of the canvas, mixing paint up so it's fluid enough to like wipe across and move across the surface. I do that, and then maybe without much thought I add extra bits of paint to it, which might be sprayed from an airbrush, so it has like a different sensibility, or it might be like ink that's floated on top of like smeared acrylic, but it's different viscosity, so it has a weird reaction. And these are maybe the things that you don't see when you look at the entire image. Like the entire image that you see on like Instagram or my website might not reveal that, but there's sort of things within the first layers of painting that I can't control. They're just stuff that I do, and I like that. You know, that feels, for me, that feels brave and honest and fresh, and that's what I need to do in order to then maybe slow down and make more conscious decisions on what to do next, to build a structure around those arbitrary shapes of paint that are on there, that allows me to then build up some kind of composition that makes it into a painting rather than just paint.
Did you ever, you spend a day in the studio and you go through that process and it feels like it's sort of an unweaving and kind of a process of kind of getting your all ideas into a place, and you say follow this intuition? It feels like it should be almost quite cathartic and almost quite peaceful, but do you ever come out and it's not quite worked, or it's not quite coming, and it actually creates any kind of sort of stress or anger that it's not looking like it felt like it should come out?
Well, because I don't have expectations for what it should come out like, no. And that's one good thing that I've learned from making more and more paintings, is if you have expectations for a painting, that will probably lead to disappointment, because it is never going to be what you think it looks like in your head. So it's better to give yourself a break and let go of that and just let the painting make itself, I think. I mean, that's how I get through the day, because if I thought I knew what I was going to make, A, there's no point making it because I can already see it in my head, but B, it will never look like that. Like your mind, your conscious head, whatever, your inner eye, however you want to describe it, is not the same as the relationship between your hands and the canvas. You know, you can't, I can't make something in real life that looks like it might look in my head. So it's better to not even have that as a thing, which is why I think for me, it's better to start painting by doing and not thinking, and then maybe taking time to really look, you know, to slow down, to look, to then use your eyes and your head and think about how can you connect these random shapes that you've made by throwing paint at a canvas, and how can you make that into something that is more like poetic or has more opposition or challenge or more areas of interest in it.
So how does it work then? If you'll do something in that process and then look, there must be occasions where you look at the canvas and think, no, that doesn't work. I thought it was going to pull elements together or do something, and some kind of visual language will be created, and you think, it's not appeared.
Yeah, that's interesting, because also that goes back to the question you asked before, which I didn't quite answer, as, you know, are there times where things go wrong and I get angry or upset or whatever? And sometimes things do happen and you don't like them. I say you, I mean me, I should be talking about. I don't know what you do. You probably do that too. You probably mess things up and don't feel happy about it. I don't know. But yeah, certainly I do things sometimes and I look at it and it gives me the ick. It's like, oh, fuck, why did I do that? It looks crap. But it's also my responsibility to make it work. I'm the artist and I'm controlling this, whether I'm controlling it in a kind of conscious way or just through doing more random stuff to it. And I do believe I have it within my ability to make a painting work. I have to have that confidence, otherwise why would I do anything? So yeah, things can go wrong, but you can't blame anything or anybody for that. It's not really your fault. It's not the fault of the paint. It's just the way things go. Paint is good because you can paint over it. You can work over things and hide the bad bits. More often than not, though, if I do something that looks unexpectedly uncomfortable, I just need to take time to work out what to do with it next in order to make it work. I think you can make most things work. Like, for example, I've never thrown a painting away. I've never made a disastrous painting or drawing or anything where I thought this is a total fuck up and I need to destroy it. I never do that. I generally carry on until things feel okay. That's my job. It's my job to make good paintings, and I think I take that on board. That's what I'm on the planet to do. I think that, and I do it.
So how does that work when, if someone came to commission you but tried to commission you in a very prescriptive fashion?
Well, I mean, presumably if someone commissions me to do something, they know a bit about my work and how I make it. And sometimes I work in different ways. So in the studio, when I'm working on a canvas, that's a process that I follow. That makes sense to me in that context. If, for example, I'm doing a wall painting, it has to be a different process that is slightly more controlled, because more often than not, I'm working with other people. I'm working with assistants that help to take like something that is a sketch on a piece of paper and put it on a wall. And they're different processes. So, and both are good, but they're both very different. You know, sometimes you have to, if someone's going to pay you money to make something, you have to kind of show them what it's going to look like. Otherwise, they're not going to pay you. So you have to suck it up and do it. But you can still own the work that you make, even though the process might be different, because why would you do something that you're not comfortable with making? Again, that's about taking the responsibility of the work on. You know, I wouldn't take money to do something I didn't want to do, unless it was absolutely loads of money, but that's up to me. No, then why would I not? You know, but that's the fun bit about being an artist. You know, it's like there is like some problem solving involved in it, and for me, it's important that the work still feels like mine. So if someone wanted me to do something in a very prescriptive way, I would have to think around that as a problem and work out a way to do it.
Do you ever get any kind of block?
No.
Can you imagine what it would be like to have a peaceful mind?
Yes, sometimes I think that would be nice, but then it wouldn't be me. So that would be like living in a kind of, you know, alien body or something. I mean, I say I don't have a block. I never stopped making things. I would never get to the point where I didn't know what to do. I was twiddling my thumbs in the studio, feeling stressed and upset because I didn't know what to make. I can always make stuff, and for me, as long as I make stuff, more ideas come. It's when I would stop and think or stop and question myself, then maybe I would feel more like I couldn't do anything then. That's, you know, when doubts creep in about, you know, that's why I said we should never ask ourselves why we do this, or what's it about, or what does it mean? Because if you go down that wormhole, you'll never come out of it again, or not very easily. And the best thing artists can do is make art, and then everything's okay. For me, anyway, that's how it works for me. As long as I'm doing stuff, everything's okay.